Bitcoin has been moving absolutely nowhere for the past 8 days, but that's about to change. The Bitcoin volume is about to break out higher and the Bitcoin whales are getting ready for an absolute explosion. Are we about to pump to the upside or we will crash to the downside? I'll reveal to you what's gonna happen next in this video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Salmon from Macro to Paradise, and in the previous video together you and me we have been firstly determining that Bitcoin will move from $79,000 towards $86,000. As you remember, that's exactly what happened, and then we have started from this resistance consolidating inside of this secret pattern that we will be breaking down in this video. As you remember, in the latest video we have been taking a look at that pattern closely. We knew that it's gonna subdivide itself into 5 smaller waves, and I told you that we will move lower and then towards $87,000, where around this level we will conclude this pattern and then we will crash, right? So that's exactly what happened. As you can see, we have deviated a little bit below this ascending trend line, and right now we are in a slow process of moving towards our $87,000, ladies and gentlemen. So what are the probabilities that we will very soon go down towards retesting this $84,000 and then pump towards $87,000 and then crash towards $77,000? Well, we will break down everything in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I have very important exclusive updates in this video for you, and we will start with the CME futures. And as you know, it's weekend right now. We are in a weekend price action. That means the volume and the liquidity in the markets are very low. So the CME futures stopped trading at $85,420, ladies and gentlemen. And you need to understand that on Monday we will open the markets, and if Bitcoin opens the price at higher levels before the weekend or lower levels before the weekend, there will be a gap, ladies and gentlemen. And as you know, in the history, every time within the next 5 days the CME futures gap is always closed. It's not every time, but it's like in 95% cases. And because we are professional traders, for us it's very important to monitor these kind of things because it helps you to create much better trading ideas. You know exactly where to place a stop loss, where to place a sell target, where to place exit target levels much safely, and etc. And also it's good to understand that right now not only is weekend where already the prices are being very easily manipulated because of a lower volume and lower liquidity in the markets, but it's also an Easter holidays for many people, so that double downs on the possible manipulations in the market and possible wick outs that would normally not happen. And again, as a professional traders, it's great to understand these dynamics in the market and adjust your trading tactics and your trading strategies based on that. Let's start our analysis of Bitcoin on ultra high time frame chart. You remember this chart from January 30 when I have told you that we are about to crash, right? You know that we have been bullish for the whole period of 3 years prior to changing our bias into bears. After that we have crashed by around 30%, ladies and gentlemen, and the most important thing is that we are right now have flipped this moving average trend line from support that previously worked perfectly for the past 3 years into a resistance. And as you remember from the previous videos, I have been explaining to you that after we touch it for a 5th time, ladies and gentlemen, we will pump towards $90,000 to $93,000 to retest the structural level that previously worked as a support. Now it will be working as a resistance, ladies and gentlemen. With this pump to the upside, we will also be retesting the moving average trend line of our RSI oscillator that will finish our B wave that I will be talking about. Well, and then we will crash towards $44,000 and the RSI will get into an oversold zone where we will be once again with Paradise Family VIPs strategically positioning ourselves into a new bull market, and we will be changing our strategies again. So just very quickly, let's understand and break down the Elliott wave theory one more time, ladies and gentlemen. You remember that I do expect a deep correction that will take a place of a zigzag formation, right? So from here we have started the A wave, then we will retest that $93,000 as a B wave, and then we will have a C wave towards $44,000 that will perfectly retest the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, very important low zone from the Fibonacci sequence that I calculated based on taking a look at the most impulsive 3rd wave from our impulse, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we have been analyzing this impulse for you since $19,500. So if you have been around, if you have been subscribed in this channel, you have been perfectly riding all of the single waves with us. And if you are in Paradise VIP, you have been getting our personal trade setups with a clear entry and exit targets in a real time. So after we touch $44,000, you will not see anymore like you see right now on Twitter and other social media that everybody is so bullish and just calling for this to be a little dip before a moon, right? Here you will actually see most of the people right now that are being bullish, they will be switching bearish, right? And that's going to be the time where we will begin accumulating once again, because remember, since January 30 we have been basically selling everything right here at around $109,000, ladies and gentlemen, and this is going to be the time at $44,000 where we will begin to accumulate again, because we know that we will start moving to the upside and we will be targeting on ultra high time frame chart $240,000, ladies and gentlemen. About that later. Right now let's take a look at the B wave. If I zoom in right now here for you, you understand that this is a zigzag formation, right? A, B, C. You remember from the previous videos that I believe that the A wave is already finished. If you are in our website mycryptoparadise.com, you know that the descending zigzag is subdividing itself into multiple smaller subwaves, right? And that really can help you to create a beautiful trades if you can read the price action correctly. And you know that I believe we have finished the A wave, this one, and we are right now in a formation of the B wave. And the B wave itself is having a formation of most of the times another zigzag, alright? So the price action will look something like this. As you know, the ascending zigzag is basically the same thing as the descending zigzag, is just pointing to the upside, but the rules are very similar. And this zigzag I believe will take us towards $90,000 to $93,000, and I do believe that we are already finishing the first A wave and we are about to start a B wave that will take us towards $77,000. Let's zoom in inside of this price action, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look on our high time frame chart. One more thing, I should probably say that we are closing a weekly candle in 1 day 9 hours, okay? And if this candle will one more time close below this moving average trend line, it will be just increasing the probabilities that we will start dropping towards $77,000 before moving higher towards $90,000 to $93,000. Also take a look at this small candle, ladies and gentlemen. Can you take a look at this? It's very small and it's the smallest candle we have had this year, okay? And probably the previous year as well. If you can see some smaller candle than this one, let me know in the comment section below. I cannot see it. In terms of trading activity, this was one of the smallest one. It's probably because of the economic uncertainty. Loads of people are trying to have a risk-off strategy that basically means lower trading activity, and it's beautifully visible on this small candle. But I believe it is about to change and we will have an explosion in volume next week. So let's right now break down the direction of this huge move. So on our high time frame chart, which is basically daily view, which means that every single candle represents 1 day of trading activity. If we take a look at what happened before with the price action, you remember that we have been able to call out perfectly the top because we have understood that we are trading inside of this ending diagonal. If you have been around and if you are subscribed in this channel, you know that we have called every single move up or down. We didn't care. We have called it all of that, and then we have understood that with this truncated fifth we are finished, ladies and gentlemen. And since then we have started to form the A wave of the zigzag, which is basically this one, right? So that was this wave, ladies and gentlemen, that finished right here with a truncated fifth, right? And since then we have started to form the B wave of the higher degree zigzag that will take us towards $90,000 to $93,000. But because you already know that the zigzag itself subdivides itself into 3 smaller waves, all right? You also know that right now we are starting the first A wave, and I do believe that the A wave will not exceed the previous 4th wave of the extended 5th wave, ladies and gentlemen. So the 5th wave, the extended 5th wave of this impulse, inside of which the A wave of a zigzag was trending in. As you know, the zigzag, the A wave is being made out of a motive mode, so it can either be an impulse or a leading diagonal, okay? So that finished right here with the truncated 5th at around $74,000. We have been updating the price action for you in the previous videos, and I do believe that this A wave will not exceed the high of the fourth wave of that extended fifth of this impulse that been forming the A wave of a zigzag. So this fourth wave, as you can see, is ending at around $89,000, and I do believe that there is a very low probability of going above it. Okay, I believe that we are finishing this A wave very soon. We will be breaking down on a lower time frames the price action exactly of this A wave. I believe this is ending very soon, ladies and gentlemen, and the maximum possible price it could reach is retest of this fourth wave, ladies and gentlemen, at around $89,000. Then we will move down towards $77,000, and then we create the final C wave that can be extended or not, and will finish at this key high time from resistance zone, ladies and gentlemen, which is also a high of the previous fourth wave that been making the whole higher degree A wave of that zigzag. Alright, so I do believe that we will not be moving above this resistance, and from here we will start moving towards that $44,000, ladies and gentlemen. If we take a look at our oscillators, we can see that really breaking above right now that $89,000 is very unlikely, right? The probability is very low, because you can see on the MACD histogram we already are forming a bearish hidden divergence, because the price is making lower high, but the histogram, the momentum is making a higher high. So if you're in our MCP free university, you know exactly what this means. This is a perfect example of a hidden bearish divergence, when the price action is making lower high, but the indicator, the histogram, the momentum oscillator is creating a higher high. That basically means somebody is creating the volume, but probably it's not Bitcoin whales, right? If the Bitcoin whales are creating the volume, the price very often follows, right? But if the price is lacking the momentum has, with a very high probability, the momentum, the price action, the buying liquidity that is pushing the price right here at this resistance and trying to break above this resistance is not made by Bitcoin whales, but probably by retail. And we will be breaking down this kind of idea, why it's probably retail, not Bitcoin whales, and what the Bitcoin whales are actually doing very soon. But firstly, let's just finish with our technical analysis on high time frame chart, ladies and gentlemen. This is one bad sign, alright? And even though the price would continue higher towards that $89,000, it will maximally create an equal high, right, together with this wick out, and that once again will be a divergence, right? Because the momentum will continue to rise, the volume is going to continue in the trend of a decline. I don't think it's gonna break these highs for sure, so that's gonna be another bearish divergence, and everything suggests that we will start going towards that $77,000. That's the highest probability play right now. Of course, if some random volume comes in, it's gonna be invalidated. As a professional traders, we are protecting ourselves the way that we are placing a beautiful stop loss, and we are just creating trades with a professional entries where we can place our stop loss very tight to the entry zone and our exit targets very wide from the entry zone. So basically every trade we make with an idea to maximize our profitability and limit our risk. Looking at the RSI indicator, you can also see that we are at the point from where we have been breaking to the downside from the previous multiple times. For example, when we have been at this zone at around 50 right here during March, we have break down to the downside, right? One more time, as you can see right here, we have touched that 50 zone, and again we have broken afterwards to the downside. And there are just many other examples, ladies and gentlemen, and right now we are exactly at the same place, ladies and gentlemen, and I do believe that the history is going to repeat, because for us to continue higher we would need much more volume, much more buying support from the Bitcoin whales, and I don't see Bitcoin whales to be interested at these prices to be buying Bitcoin in anticipation of some huge upcoming rally towards above the previous all-time high. Let's right now zoom in inside the consolidation on a lower time frame, ladies and gentlemen, to understand what's really going on and how high can we fly with Bitcoin before we crash. So let's zoom in inside of our medium time frame. As you remember from the previous videos, we have understood that we are forming the final fifth wave of that A wave in an ending diagonal, right? So we have ending diagonal right here, and we understand that it subdivides itself into 5 smaller waves, right? And the motive waves of an ending diagonal are always formed in a zigzag formation. Sometimes it's double, very infrequently a triple zigzag. I do believe it's going to be a just simple zigzag, ladies and gentlemen, but because neither neither of the previous two motive waves were extended, I believe the fifth wave might very likely be extended and we might actually go towards $87,000 to liquidate some over-leveraged short positions and then start declining lower. As you can see, we have created first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, and right now we are in the fifth formation. And as you can see, neither the first wave nor the third wave were extended. So from the Elliott wave theory rule, the fifth wave should be. It doesn't need to be, but it could, right? So it's very nicely probable that the fifth wave will be indeed extended, ladies and gentlemen. However, I don't really believe it can go much higher than the $87,000. Maybe that $89,000 to retest this ascending trend line, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the absolute maximum, and I do believe that it might be just a wick out, something like we had previously right here, just a wick out higher to retest the previous ascending trend line, right? You remember that? I've been warning you about that. Something similar can happen, ladies and gentlemen. But if you take a look at the volume, it's so low on the buying side, right? If we go to the upside, as you can see, the volume is stagnating, but when we start having some selling pressure in Bitcoin, as you can see, the volume is increasing, right? And that happened many times. I already break this down for you in the previous videos. Right here, when we have the selling pressure, the volume is extremely high. When we are having some buying pressure right here, as you can see, the volume is below the average trend line. So that's bearish, and I do believe that breaking above this ascending trend line, above that $89,000 will be extremely hard, ladies and gentlemen. So the probabilities are still pointing on medium time frame as well that we will start moving towards $77,000 very soon. Also, as you can see, the strong resistance is above us right here, right? The Fibonacci sequence, the structural resistance, etc. With this kind of volume trend, that will be very hard for the price to move above this and then continue higher towards a new all-time high. We don't have much time left, so I will very quickly just go through the low time frame, ladies and gentlemen. Here I have analyzed for you the Elliott waves possible price development, how it will unfold. So take a look at this. So right now, this from here we have basically started the fifth wave. As you know, we are forming the fifth wave in a zigzag formation. So basically this was the A wave. We have concluded that in the previous videos. Here was the B wave with a truncated C. Well, and since then we have started a new impulse, right, inside of that C wave that will probably take us towards $87 something thousand. So this impulse, I believe, has an extended third wave. So this was the first wave, second wave, and now we are finishing the third wave. And as you can see, the third wave is extended. It actually subdivides itself into 5 smaller extended waves. So this was the first wave, then we have created a second wave, then a third wave, which is small, but it's not the smallest one. Look at the first wave, right? And this is basically the third wave. So it's not the shortest one, so it still works and it's absolutely alright with the Elliott wave theory. Then a very slow sideways fourth wave, which is alternating the second wave, which is also one of the guidelines of the Elliott wave theory, so that's perfectly fine. Well, and right now we are finishing the third wave, the higher degree third wave, with an extended fifth, right? Because the third wave wasn't extended. And if we calculate the subwaves 1, 2, 3, 4, very soon we should have the fifth, probably at around $86,000 it should finish. Well, and after that I do believe we will dump towards $84,700 to retest the previous end of the first wave, right here. Well, and after that we will start the fifth wave of an impulse and finish the C wave at this resistance zone, ladies and gentlemen. And because this third wave was extended already, I do believe that the fifth wave will be a simple impulse and we will not have an extension, because having extended third and fifth is very rare. So with the highest probability we will finish right here, the C wave. As you can see here, we have also an ascending trend line. So if you take a look where the price action could end up, probably with a wick out is not about more than $89,000, right? So also this works well on low time frame, ladies and gentlemen. And after we revisit this resistance, I do believe that we are about to start crashing to the downside towards that $77,000. Also, the USDT dominance is just revisiting our support zone. As you can see right here, the Fibonacci sequence is working very well. Right now, you understand from the previous videos that we are starting a new trend higher, and when the USDT dominance is bullish, it's bearish for crypto, right? If we very quickly take a look at funding rates, we can see that the greed is rising, and together with that, we can see the accumulated funding rates are extremely positive. That means basically there is more leverage long positions in the market than short positions, and it's just creating a nice context to who is actually pushing the price up. If it would be Bitcoin whales, they are not really trading with much of a leverage, right? So mostly it's spot, etc. So the funding rates would be much more neutral, even negative, right? But because it's so positive, it means there is so much more long positions in the market than short positions. That's perfectly playing the cards of a long squeeze and give us nice explanation who is pushing the price to the upside, who is providing the buying liquidity, right? And who is distributing on that buying liquidity, which I have described to you in the previous video. If you take a look at the fear and greed index, we are still at the 60, which previously worked as a top-in sign, right? Together with the social index, we are back at 60 as well, and we didn't finish the cycle, the proper cycle, where we would have a prolonged period of red numbers. For example, it happened right here. From 86 we have dumped towards $82,000, right? Finish the cycle, and as you can see, the social index perfectly works, and I do believe that we are about to start this very soon and finish this cycle as well right here. You can track this with me on our website mycryptoparadise.com. It's for free. Also, if we take a look at the liquidation levels, as you can see, we don't have much anything above $87,000. The brightest point is at around $87,000, ladies and gentlemen. Pushing above that would really not be profitable for the whales, so some kind of a liquidation wick towards that $88,000 before moving to the downside is probable, right? So that's again helping us to understand how to position ourselves, when to enter, when to exit, where to place stop loss, etc. That's all what we are doing for our Paradise VIP members. I believe these videos are helping you. If they do, smash the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time. As you know, I record every Saturday, Tuesday and Thursday, so I will see you again on Tuesday. Until then, have a nice Easter, have a great rest of the weekend, and trade smart. Cheers!